Hi, I'm Tim Gardner with Chatham Wealth Management. Thanks for joining me. Today's not about products. It's about building a plan for life after your paycheck stops. If you've been saving and investing for years, but still feel just a little unsure whether it's enough, you're not alone. We're going to talk about how to turn those piggy banks into a reliable stream of income that actually lasts. I'm going to walk you through what a real retirement income plan looks like. Key questions we're going to answer. How much will you need? Where's that money going to come from? How do you make it last? There are different ways to approach this. We'll cover a few options to see which one best fits your goals. Retirement planning isn't about having one giant account. It's about knowing how to use what you've got. You've likely been saving in multiple places, such as IRAs, 401ks, maybe a pension or Social Security. Now the question is, how do you use those accounts to generate a consistent income for yourself over the next 30 years? You may live to 90 or even 100. We've got to build a strategy that lasts that long without turning to ramen and regret sometime in your 80s. Most folks expect to rely on workplace plans and Social Security. But when the time comes, those numbers don't always add up. That 2024 Retirement Confidence Survey shows how common that disconnect is. Your plan has to reflect reality, not just assumptions. That's why we model both income and spending side by side. Hey, let's be honest. These stats are sobering. 28% of Americans have zero saved for retirement. That's not a rounding error. 42% have IRAs and only 5% over the age of 60 are using catch-up contributions. Most folks over 60 don't think they're on the right track. And 64% of them are probably right. I don't put these numbers up to scare you. They're here to show you how common your uncertainty is and why a plan can make a huge difference. Now, let's take a second and pause. How does your plan measure up? Many folks have saved something, but they aren't sure it's enough or if they're using the right accounts. This is where small adjustments like a catch-up contribution can really help. They don't have to overhaul everything. Sometimes it's just a matter of redirecting your efforts more strategically. If you're over 50, the IRS gives you a great little gift. It's called a catch-up contribution. Sadly, only 5% of the people take advantage of it. That means 95% of you are leaving money on the table. Right now, you can put up to $8,000 into an IRA, and that's a nice tax advantage boost. This becomes especially helpful when you're in your peak earning years. Less than half the folks over 60 think they're on the right track, and the people in their 50s, about a third think they're on the right track. So if you're feeling unsure, you're not behind, you're in the majority. That's why we don't wing this stuff. We plan for it. Only 36% of households have over $250,000 saved for retirement. Now, I'm not saying you need $1 million to retire, but you need to be realistic about your lifestyle and how long your money needs to last. Because the sooner you build that plan, the more confident you'll be about what's possible. Let's take a second now and zoom out. Retirement isn't just a math problem, it's your lifestyle. Where do you see yourself living? What will your days look like? Will you work part-time, travel more, potentially volunteer, or start something new for yourself? This is about designing your life and then building a plan to support it. You see, some folks stay put. Others move closer to kids and grandkids, and plenty of retirees downsize or relocate altogether. You've got options. Just know where you live affects your retirement budget in a big way. Think about taxes, proximity to airports, grocery stores, places of worship, doctors. Think about the climate. Think about the cost of living where you want to live, not just the square footage. Now, for most of you, a lion's share of your net worth may be tied up in your house. And that's not good or bad, it's just something to consider. Downsizing or even renting may free up equity you can use to support your lifestyle or cover healthcare expenses later on in life. Home equity is powerful, but it's not always liquid. Here's something people don't talk about enough. Free time, it costs money. If you're working, you're probably earning. If you're not, you're probably spending on hobbies, travel, even the business you want to start. And that's not a bad thing. It just needs to be planned for. We can model what these lifestyle choices will actually cost you each year. Hey, if we knew the exact year you were going to pass away, retirement planning would be a lot easier. But we don't. We have to assume you might live a long life, well into your 90s. And if you do, we want the money to last longer than you do. That's why we aim to build a plan that works to age 95 or even 100. Just as in life, retirement has its curveballs. Health issues, long-term care, helping aging parents, kids that move back in, and even market volatility and inflation. You can't predict it all, but you can build flexibility into your plan. That's why a good retirement strategy isn't a one and done. It's something you revisit over time. So let's bring it back to the numbers. How much do you actually need each year? For some folks, about 70 or 80% of your working income. Now, that's a fine napkin sketch, but it's not enough for real planning. Instead, think about your actual spending. What's your mortgage? What are your travel plans? What's healthcare going to be for you? Let's build a retirement budget using real dollars. Once you know what you're going to spend, it's time to figure out how we're going to pay for it. Social Security, pensions, annuities, maybe some part-time work, rental income. These are your piggy banks. Each one has different rules, risks, and tax treatment. And the big question is, how do you use them in the right order? Let's break this down for you. Social Security, it adjusts for inflation, and it's guaranteed for life. Pensions, if you've got one, they're guaranteed, but not always inflation-proof. Annuities, they can be fixed or variable. Investment withdrawals, this is where planning really pays off. We want to understand how all these pieces behave and how they'll work together for you. Here's what retirement income looks like for most people. Social Security is the biggest chunk, but 80% have private income, pensions, investments, and even work part-time. It's about building a mix that fits your lifestyle, not following somebody else's formula. I know a lot of you want to claim Social Security as soon as you're eligible, but timing matters. You could get 20 to 30% more per month simply by waiting. We look at both spouses, your health, your income needs, and decide together when to claim, because this is one decision that can impact your whole plan. Hey, if you've got one, congrats. You're one of the lucky few. But you still got decisions to make. Do you annuitize or lump sum? Survivor benefit? Period certain. These options sound like fine print, but they affect your monthly income for the rest of your life. We'll walk you through the pros and the cons based on your goals and your spouse's needs. Retirement doesn't have to mean no work. It means different work. Maybe you consult, freelance, teach, start a business, or work part-time for fun or structure. The key is to build a plan around the assumption that work income may not last forever, and make sure that your retirement isn't dependent upon it. I know, annuities get a bad rap, and quite honestly, some of it is deserved. Some not, though. Here's what matters. If you already own one, let's see if it has the income features you can use. If you're considering one, let's break down the fees, the taxes, the income guarantees before you commit. They're not a one-size-fits-all, but they can play a role. This is the piggy bank that most people focus on. IRAs, Roths, 401ks, savings, brokerage accounts. It's the most flexible and also the most fragile. You've worked hard to build it. Now the question is, how do you draw from it strategically so you don't run out? We can't forget the wild cards here either. Home equity, rental income, business ownership, even trust and inheritances. We don't count on these, but we do plan around them when they're in the picture. Every income source counts. It's just about organizing the puzzle to support your goals. Now that we reviewed your piggy banks, let's talk about how to spend them. There are a few classic approaches. Live off the interest, the 4% rule, the bucket strategy, and mandatory versus discretionary expenses. Each one has its strengths and its trade-offs. Let's walk through them. This one's simple. Invest for income, live off the interest, never touch the principal. But with interest rates where they've been, you need a lot of principal to make this work. For example, even $1 million might only generate $25,000 to $30,000 a year without taking on big risk. That might work for some, but for most people, it's simply not enough. This is a popular one because it's easy to understand. You withdraw 4% in year one and then adjust for inflation every year after that. Historically, it's had a great track record if half of your money is in stocks and the other half is in bonds. But there's a downside there. It doesn't adjust based on market performance, and it can leave a lot of money unspent or run out if it goes south. Buckets are one of my favorite frameworks. Think of your money in 3 timelines: near term, midterm, long term. The first bucket, maybe 5 years worth of spending, is invested conservatively. The other buckets are for later and can afford more risk and growth. This approach helps reduce panic during market dips, and it gives you time to rebalance. This one's all about matching income sources with spending categories. You cover the must-haves: housing, food, insurance with guaranteed income, things like Social Security, pensions, and annuities. Then you use your portfolio for the fun stuff, the travel, the hobbies, the grandkids, the giving. The big win here is psychological. You can sleep better knowing that the basics are always covered. We got to keep in mind, no strategy is perfect and none are permanent. Some offer simplicity, others flexibility. Some maximize your income. The right plan often blends these approaches and evolves as your life changes. Now we get to the fun stuff. Because even in retirement, Uncle Sam still wants their cut. What matters isn't just how much income you take, it's where you take it from. Social Security, pensions, annuities, investment accounts, they're all taxed differently. If you plan this well, you can lower your tax bill significantly over time. Okay, here's the short version. Social Security can be taxed up to 85%, but not always. Pensions and annuities are usually fully taxable. Investment income depends. If it's in a Roth, a traditional IRA, or a regular brokerage account. The key takeaway here is the order you withdraw money matters more than most people think. Here's some strategies you might want to consider. Start IRA withdrawals before 73 to reduce your RMDs. Consider Roth conversions. Pay some tax now, avoid some tax later. Delay Social Security to reduce years it's taxed. Lower expenses so you don't need to withdraw as much. And keep adjusting. Tax planning in retirement is an ongoing issue. People often ask me, Tim, which account should I draw in first? Well, it depends. I know that's not the best answer, but you've got taxable, tax-deferred, and even tax-free buckets. The right sequence depends upon your spending, your goals, and your tax bracket. There's no one answer, but there is a right answer for you. And that's why working with an advisor can make a big difference. Let me introduce you to my friends, John and Jane Doe. Not their real names, but a real situation. They're newly retired, financially comfortable, and want to make smart decisions about their future. They care deeply about their family, especially helping their grandson with college and creating memories through travel. John and Jane have two big goals beyond retirement security. They want to leave an inheritance to their son and daughter-in-law, as well as support their grandson Timmy's college fund, and maybe take a few family vacations along the way. They're not trying to live extravagantly, they just want to live fully as well as responsibly. Over the years, they did a lot right. They saved in their 401ks, they opened Roth IRAs, built a joint stock account, and even paid down their mortgage. They have about $325,000 in home equity, bringing their total net worth to about $1.2 million. Now, folks, this isn't a fantasy. This is the results of decades of consistency. As you can see, they're expecting about $55,000 a year in guaranteed income from Social Security and pensions. But their other expenses, including their mortgage for the next couple of years, are around $95,000 per year. That's a gap of nearly $40,000 that they're going to need to fund from investments. By organizing their income sources and projecting their investment returns, we're able to show them that they could meet their goals. Even assuming they live into their 90s, their plan keeps them funded and steady. This is why we model cash flow instead of guessing. It lets us plan with a purpose. Under these assumptions, they're on track to leave a legacy of about $1.3 million, mostly in portfolio assets and home equity. But they don't want to leave the money accidentally. They want to use it meaningfully while they're alive. We looked at a plan where they would get $5,000 a year to Timmy's college fund and spend $10,000 every other year on family trips. Even with these added expenses, they're still on track because they spaced out the gifts over 10 years and modeled in some flexibility for themselves. Life changes, folks. Your plan should flex with it. With the gifting built in, their final estate drops to $850,000, but they've spent more with purpose. They'll need to make a few adjustments later in life, but they're in control of those decisions now. That's what a good plan does. It lets you live and give with confidence. We've covered a lot today. So where do we go from here? Start by gathering your documents, your account statements, your tax returns, your estate plans. Write down your questions. What keeps you up at night about retirement? Then let's have a conversation. No obligation, just clarity. So grab your tax returns, find your Social Security statements, and let's look at what you've built and make sure it's working for you and not just sitting there. You don't have to do this alone, and quite frankly, you shouldn't. This isn't just about investments. We help with life planning, budgeting, tax strategy, estate documents, and portfolio management, the full picture. Think of it like your personal CFO or family office. One flat fee, no product push, just real advice. Boom. If you've been thinking, this is exactly what I need, but I don't need a sales pitch, let me tell you what we offer. I run a flat fee family office, $10,500 a year, no matter what your net worth is. That covers investment management, tax preparation, audit protection if needed, estate planning docs, 4 quarterly meetings, and ongoing support throughout the year. If you've got $1 million at Schwab, Vanguard, or one of the wirehouses, this is worth taking a look at. We'll help with Roth conversions, RMD strategies, gifting and account titling. We'll coordinate the CPAs and attorneys as needed, and everything is tailored to your goals, not some cookie cutter model. You can also subscribe to my channel for more helpful retirement content. Thanks for joining.